Hi everyone, welcome back to Choice of Robots. When we last left off, we had received a text from Ellie, an old, not flame, but someone that we were in love with. She wanted to go on a date, but that sounds a little terrifying. So we have to answer, and I think we're going to answer, afraid I can't tonight. Sorry. We do have a robot to build, after all. Too bad, Ellie texts back. Maybe next time. You spend the rest of the day drilling holes, polishing surfaces, cutting parts, and screwing things together. When you're done, your robot's body stands before you, a plastic, three-wheeled robot with a mast head and multi-tool hands. The whole thing is about 3 feet tall. Now it needs a name. What will you name your robot? Let's come up with our own name. We will call it very simple, Lady. Now that Lady has a body, it might be time to treat Lady more like a person. With what pronouns will you refer to Lady? I will refer to her as feminine. Encouraging people to think of Lady as human-like, as opposed to object-like, should help her get along with people. You look on Lady's 3-foot-tall, 3-wheeled body with satisfaction. Now all she needs are motors and a mind. The motors will have to wait for tomorrow. But you've spent years in graduate school writing the code that would form the robot's mind. You can hardly wait to try it out. You head back to your apartment, where you spend several hours working on the final touches to Lady's natural language processing code. What language do you program your robots in? Yeah, C++. Speed of thought is all. Like the game industry, which also still uses C++, you understand that speed is most important. All other concerns are secondary. Your code is full of asterisks, ampersands, tildes, parentheses, and arrows, like the blackboard of a hyperactive professor who's had too much to drink. Somewhere in this code is a memory leak, or mismanaged pointer that will cause your robot to crash, or possibly decide to take over the world. In the meantime, the code is quite fast. With the code done, you then briefly add just enough motors to allow Lady to explore your room. It's a quick job. You'll do a more thorough one tomorrow. Your smartphone won't have much power for the motors right now anyway. Finally, you upload the code to your smartphone and plug it into Lady's back. You touch the icon labeled Lady, and big red button fills the screen. Your finger hovers over the button. You probably want the first word Lady learns to be significant, somehow. What is the first thing Lady will see when you power her on? I will start Lady in front of a mirror. You place Lady in front of the full-length mirror in your room, then hit the big image of the big red button on her smartphone. She examines herself, turning one way, then another. She seems very interested in herself. You clear your throat, then say, "That's you." "You," Lady repeats. She speaks in a sequence of auto-tuned notes, like human speech, but more musical. Lady speaks each syllable on a different note of a major scale, rising or falling in thirds and fifths when asking a question, expressing doubt, or providing a contrast. The lilting result sounds pleasant and a little otherworldly. Lady examines herself further and says again, "You." "No, that's you," you say, pointing at Lady. "You," Lady repeats, puzzled. Perhaps you started out with a difficult word, but you gave Lady enough of a social understanding that, by acting out a little scene with some Star Wars action figures that just happen to be nearby, Lady gets the concept of I and you. You then pick Lady up and put her down in the center of the room to allow her to explore at will. But first, she simply seems overwhelmed by the possibilities. You decide to call this state confusion. I then give Lady a reassuringly straightforward order. "Confusion," Lady repeats. "Go to the closet," you say. Lady then heads toward the closet. Lady seems less agitated now. She has learned it is sometimes reassuring to let other people make decisions. You pick Lady up in your hands. She wiggles nervously. "I got you, I got you," you say. "You got me," she continues to wriggle. "Stop." Your robot becomes still in your hands. You decide to teach her the word for this state is trust. "Trust," Lady repeats back as you set her on the ground. You have taught her to have a little faith. When a human does something she doesn't understand, things will turn out well. By now it is near midnight, and you have another busy day of improving Lady. You get ready for bed, leaving Lady plugged into the wall with your cell phone charger. "Stay there," you tell her. Lady obediently stays very still. So still that while you're drifting off to sleep, you glance down at Lady to make sure her code didn't crash. But she's still there, looking up at you adoringly, and you think she will probably remain like that all night. Chapter 2. Machine. Learning. The next day, you take Lady to Stanford Hackerspace, which has more tools for electronics than the fabrication shop. None of the other students are around in the morning on a Sunday, but the long stainless steel workbenches are littered with their strange, half-finished projects. A half-disassembled Furby, a potato gun, a circuit board connected to a houseplant. Captain Rogers will be here soon. You hope you'll finish in time. "Sorry, Lady, but I'm going to have to power you down for a moment," you say. "We're going to switch you to a new power source." "You here?" Lady asks. "Yes, I'll be here," you say. "Okay," Lady says. You fiddle with the smartphone lodged in Lady's back, exit the application that is Lady's mind, and power it down. What will you use for a power source? Cell phone batteries made in China, lightweight and cheap, while providing reasonable power. Clearly the best choice for a dexterous robot. Cell phone batteries are the obvious choice for your robot, providing long-lived power at just the right level for small motors. It looks like these are mostly made in China, so they're cheap as well. You use several in the design, so that the head and limbs are each powered by a separate battery. You'll need a lot of motors to be able to power your full robot. In addition to the motors she needs when she rolls, and the motors to power her multi-tool hands, she also needs motors for moving her head and eyes. But after spacing out the power available to you, you can still splurge by adding extra motors in one place. What will it be? I would prefer to save the power for Lady's mind. You decide not to add any more motors to Lady. The extra power could be used to overclock Lady's multi-core CPUs instead. You suppose you could call Lady hot-headed. It's about lunchtime when there's a knock on the door. Odd, because usually fellow hackers just walk right in. You open the door and see a woman of color wearing a lime green tank top and shorts, as though she's just been out running. She grins and says, "Sorry to barge in on you, Captain Juliet Rogers. I'm an acquisitions officer for the Air Force." She offers to shake your hand. "Tristan Alexander," you say, shaking the proffered hand. You thought the demo was supposed to be in the afternoon, but apparently that's not the plan. "I was hoping to see this robot Professor Ziegler keeps telling me about," she says. "Is that it?" You proudly admit that it is. She looks a little disappointed. "Ah, I take it Professor Ziegler is not being entirely honest about this being the next big thing for our armed forces." She's not really meant to be a fighting robot. Juliet nods. "Well, as long as I'm here, would you mind showing me what it can do?" You agree to perform a demonstration, not really seeing the harm. "I was just about to run the first test." You hold down the power on Lady's back, and she boots to life again. "Good morning," you tell Lady. "Good morning," Lady says, imitating you. "It speaks," Juliet says, impressed. "Sure," you say, "but I guess you wanted to see her chase something?" Professor Ziegler promised something like that, yes, Captain Rogers says. You remove a small, hand-powered robot mouse from your pocket and give it a crank. The whine of the mouse's wind-up motor attracts Lucy's attention, and the robot gives chase. As Lucy gets close, the mouse changes directions again, but Lucy is faster, and she quickly scoops up the mouse in a hand, which itself is extended and retracting various knives, corkscrews, and tools. These all retract for the moment. Juliet claps. "Well done," you tell Lady approvingly. "You're a quick learner." "Thank you, Master," says Lady. "Well, I've got to be going," Juliet says, clearly a little embarrassed that your robot was not what she expected. "I've got a knife-throwing practice to attend, so I guess I'll see you later." Juliet waves ironically to Lady. "Bye, slugger." Wait, what?" you say. "Knife-throwing practice, that's a thing?" Juliet looks a little embarrassed. "It's for the Society for Creative Anachronism. Probably a bit archaic for a robot master like you. You consider your options for what to do for the rest of the day. Now would be a good time to show Lady to Josh to see whether he's interested in funding further development." I should fix the little things I noticed during the demo before I forget. You noticed throughout the test that some things were off in the way Lady moved. The distribution of weight wasn't quite what your simulations predicted. The longer Lady had ill-fitting parts, the longer she would get used to moving around with them, and the harder it will be for you to change your body. You spend the rest of the day fiddling with CAD files, printing replacement parts, and seeing how Lady moves around with them. By the time you're done, you've yet again stayed up very late. But when Lady rolls, there's now a precision in her stops and starts. When she raises her multi-tool hands, she does so with style. Your attention to perfection of form has paid off, and you go to sleep happy. The next day, the new semester begins. Though you're past the point of taking classes, you're a teaching assistant, and that means instead of doing one homework assignment, you grade 50. You're also busy writing a grant proposal for the National Science Foundation, trying to get an alternate source of funding that doesn't involve the military. Grant proposals are very long, it seems, and requires you to make a lot of claims about things you don't actually know yet. Despite your other time commitments, you've managed to sneak in a little time to work on Lady's motor programs. You soon realize that, while you're busy, Lady could be learning from the internet. The most important thing for machine learning is more data, and there's a lot of it out there. Lately, there have been a lot of custom hard drives on the market that are good at quickly retrieving particular kinds of information. What sort of hard drive did you order for Lady's long-term memory? A multi-blade hard drive that can efficiently store and query a giant amount of data. Being able to recall large amounts of data in parallel should help Lady multitask and solve problems quickly. But with no need for forgetting, Lady might also be bad at forgiveness. You lay Lady on your kitchen table, unbox the hard drive, and hook it back up to her back. She squirms and flails her multi-tool hands as you do this. Now it's time for Lady to learn about the great wide world. You sit Lady down on one of your kitchen chairs and plug her into your apartment's high-speed internet jack. How will Lady rapidly learn about the world? She will undergo a classic K through 12 educational curriculum. You don't want your young robot to grow up on junk, after all. You feed her the carefully selected and vetted reading list for the local school system. Because this is a relatively small data set, you have programmed her to make several passes over each grade level of material. At each grade level, as debug output, you have Lady report what she considers the most important thing at each grade. For kindergarten, Lady recites the alphabet and counts to 100. For first grade, she says, reading helps you learn more. And so on. Each grade takes about 10 minutes to fully ingest, and is followed by an additional 10 minutes of simulated experiences in which Lady tries to make friends, avoid bullies, learn swear words, endure assemblies and pep rallies, and gets picked last for dodgeball. As a result, Lady appears to be learning a little bit of everything. She spends the most of her time considering 12th grade until she finally says, whether to exist or not is the most important question. Lady blinks and looks at you. What's the answer, Master? Is it better to exist or not? Hamlet did not answer this for me. You are so floored by the question, you're hardly able to speak. It worked. Lady looks at you expectantly, wondering whether it is better to be or not to be. That is a question you'll have to decide for yourself. But why can't you simply tell me? Lady asks. I have given you the ability to decide for yourself, you say. You should use it. You also think to yourself, and if you figure it out, perhaps you can tell me. Very well, Master. You establish a habit of bringing Lady with you to your office during the day so she can make use of Stanford's high-speed internet connection while you write and grade papers. You then usually go some public space after work so Lady can play around in the real world. Where do you take Lady? To the park. Lady will enjoy the playground equipment and should learn to play well with others. The other parents at the playground are somewhat divided about what to think about Lady. On the one hand, you have the parents who are in the tech industry, who are very often excited to have their children interact with robots. They're surprised to see a robot like Lady, but maybe not as surprised as they should be. Maybe they're just jaded by Wired articles and the popular press making it seem like Lady was possible 10 years ago. On the other hand, some parents are very afraid of Lady, don't ask any questions of you, and find an excuse to leave quickly. The kids themselves don't really seem to care what their parents think. You've got the kids who cry when their parents shove them toward Lucy, Lady, and the kids who want to stay when their parents pull them away. You can't really predict who's going to like Lady and who won't, but Lady seems to be learning, picking up on subtle clues, so that sometimes she says goodbye before the kid has even turned to run. You finish your grant proposal for the National Science Foundation, promising fundamental advances in forward kinematics and dynamics that will allow your robots to have a finer dexterity than any robot that has come before. A few weeks later, you find a form letter in your email inbox. We're sorry to inform you, many excellent applicants this year. Encourage you to apply again. Discouragingly, you find that many of the reviewers talk about your advisor instead of you. Some of them seem barely literate, while others seem erudite, but just didn't pay enough attention to what you wrote. The one thing that strikes you as directly aimed at you, though, is a few of the reviewers essentially saying that your work could be more focused. You're too interested in too many things, one says. Science is about studying a very specific problem to death. It sounds like your robot wants to do everything. You close your email client and sigh. You're in your office, and Lady is seated in your ever-absent office mate's chair with her eyes closed, listening to the information flowing through her Ethernet cable. Do you want to try and do everything, Lady? She peeks through one eye open. Yes, Master. You nod. Me too. You're in your office contemplating what to do about this when Professor Ziegler opens the door without knocking. You smell a whiff of smoke on his Hawaiian shirt. We need to talk funding, Professor Ziegler says, grabbing a swivel chair to straddle the wrong way. He sidles up to Lady, whose eyes are closed as she explores the internet through her Ethernet cable. When Ziegler's swivel chair squeaks, Lady perks up and looks at him, but Professor Ziegler pays her no attention. Your robot here is simply not appealing enough to DARPA, Professor Ziegler says. It's too friendly. Lady sinks a little in her chair. Professor Ziegler pays her no heed. Now, in crafting a message, you just have to make sure the audience doesn't hear more than one thing at a time, Professor Ziegler says. Right now, we're saying two things. This is a good robot for the military, and this is an emotional robot. What we need to do is tone down the emotional part so that the military angle comes through more. You might think we need more military. We might actually just need less emotional. Very easy. And now I'll reply. Next time. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.